Good afternoon. Our view is overlooking the city of Guadalajara, Mexico. We're here to raise a few questions and observations regarding the subject of Planet X. The details that occur in this footage demonstrate that something additional has come into our region of space. We're talking about the planetary system with the dwarf star Nemesis. So, what is the situation with this occasion? Well, the date is August 14th, 2021, at about 6 o'clock in the evening. We're facing east, so this particular view is where we would see the morning sunrise. Notice the shadows from buildings and other structures. This data clarifies for us where the sun is actually situated at the moment and where it's headed. The view here at about 6 o'clock p.m. may look fairly normal and routine for most people. It's further on, about an hour, that certain anomalies become obvious. So let's skip forward to about 7:15 in the evening. So here we've arrived at 7:15, and thus the question arises, what is this illumination here? At this stage, it doesn't really look very impressive or compelling, so more data is needed in order to warrant a more energetic interest. Also, as you can see, there are other details in this view that raise questions. For example, this area. Is there a light source involved here? Over the next 30 minutes of this footage, things develop, giving us a more solid base upon which to say, wow, what is that? In fact, one such development just now occurred there. I'm referring to the sudden surge in the light intensity of this area. Let's take a moment to replay that event to determine what just happened there. So we'll back up to the time point of about 17 minutes 50 seconds, where the anomaly will occur in about 5 seconds. Boom! There we have it, where the light undergoes a surge of some kind. One thing to check is the continuity in the video recording at the spot where the light surge occurs. We're looking to see if there's a skip in the video or a technical reason causing the apparent effect that we've noted. So we've backed up again to about 10 seconds before the occurrence. And there it is. Now we'll freeze frame the video right on the immediate spot where that surge occurs. And we can see that it's on the 18 minutes and 1 second time point. Now I'll back up the video a few frames, and we reach the point before the flash occurs, and thus at 18 minutes and 1 second, the sky goes from this to this. In other words, there is no gap or skip in the footage there. Perhaps it is useful to remind ourselves of a detail we've already clearly set forth, and that is, we're looking at the east evening sky, the time being about 20 minutes past 7 p.m. Overlooking the city, we still have the shadows from buildings and various structures, affirming that the sun is behind us. So what is this illumination that's going on in the east evening sky? we've sped up the video play so that we can view the next 30 minutes of footage in about 2 minutes. A fundamental point that comes through is there is something extraordinary going on in our solar system right now. The thing that's going on is the arrival of Planet X and the system that it is a part of. So far in this discussion, we've looked at the situation of a focused area of light in the sky that should not be there, according to the established model of our solar system. In addition to that, there's something else visible in this sky that is stirring, to say the least. I'm referring to the spherical object there. In previous discussions, I've pointed out that the Planet X Nemesis system has 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting a red dwarf star. Thus, it is compelling that we can see this round planet-looking thing. Now, in past videos, when I have documented the sight of things like this, I've acknowledged just how impossible it is for us to have a random, unannounced planet like that, according to the standard, academically stated model of our solar system. The short version of those previous discussions is basically there are several solid scientific reasons why it's just ludicrous to suggest that an object like we see there could be an anomalous planet here in our solar system. According to numerous physical laws and considerations that are clearly known, there's no way that that could be another planet. However, there it is. Now, through the years of my study, I've realized that there are further considerations that can answer those equations, which at first glance demolish the proposition that there could be an additional planetary system moving through our solar system. Further discussion on this quandary requires a dedicated, focused exploration. So to address this important dilemma properly, we'll have to come back to it in a later discussion. For now, we've noted this peculiar sight here. And one way to approach this is, never mind if it is or is not a planet. Let's totally set that question aside and simply ask, do we see a spherical-looking object there? Turning our attention to another significant detail, this light area that we've noted has progressed to where we now see a more well-defined source object. Considering that the sun is not at all in the view in front of us, this is remarkable. A moment ago, we were talking about this detail. Thus, it's pertinent to note that there are multiple situations of this in this footage from August 14th, 2021. For example, let's turn our attention to this area here. So we actually can see two round objects there. Now, if this was just a single momentary glimpse, as if by pure coincidence these round figures of a cloud or a reflection or an illusion of some kind had happened, well, if it was only a single glimpse, then we would have no more to go on than that. However, these two oddities are visible over a time span in the moving footage. Notice also the definitive form of this illuminated item. If we back up about 15 minutes in the footage, there again we have the odd coincidence of a round figure being visible. And as I mentioned earlier, there are additional instances in this footage. But we move forward now to observe one more enigma from this evening. It's now after 8 p.m. Let's observe the sky for a minute and the apparent light that seems to come from behind or beyond that cloud layer. Notice how the light surges or fluctuates repeatedly. Now the video is running at fast-forward speed to facilitate our observations. So we need to check and see how this appears in real time, in case that apparent surging is actually nothing but an effect caused by the fast speed of the playback. So we'll slow the video down to its natural unaltered speed. We're watching now to see how those surges occur in real time. And just there was one of these light bursts. Obviously, with the video at normal speed, we have to wait longer between instances of the phenomenon. In fact, the next light burst or surge does not occur until about 30 seconds from now. So, while we wait, notice this area. Now at this particular time point in the footage, the spherical object there is not as clearly visible as it is 5 minutes before this. Of additional significance, the object is traveling across from right to left. Here's a frame from 5 minutes previous. We'll come back to that, but for now, we're close to the next light surge. And there it was at 33 minutes and 21 seconds. The point to be taken here is the surging action of the light that we observed in fast-speed video is also there when we view the footage at normal speed. Right there was another instance at precisely 26 minutes and 14 seconds. Thus we see, with the footage playing in real-time speed, the apparent jump in the light intensity still occurs. And we can see that the flash itself comes on decisively, like a light switch is flipped on. Now I'd like to just replay a clip of this again in fast speed, as we watched before, so that we can see this incredible situation with the added perspective that we've gained. Observe. The time is now about 36 minutes past 8, which means we're over 10 minutes past sunset. In other words, at 23 minutes past 8, the sun disappeared below the horizon, and that was on the opposite horizon from our view here. So, with the sun already gone below in the west, how can there be a light source with all that activity in our view here? We'll let this play on and simply observe for about 30 seconds. Something else we should notice is here in the upper left. We have a circular figure there beyond the cloud layer. Now, at first glance, this is easily missed, but when your sight catches the item, it remains readily apparent. Backing up about 3 minutes, the object is still visible. The time point in this frame is 38 minutes past 8, and the top of the circular shape is not clearly visible as it is 3 minutes later. We're looking at a still frame at the moment, so let's observe this now in the motion footage. This, in conjunction with other stunning items we've noted, should be blazing across headline news on TV, internet, and newspapers. But the fact is, according to the universally accepted understanding of things, there are just too many big reasons why it's just ludicrous to dare suppose this spherical-looking object is a planet. So, is that round thing perhaps just a reflection? Or is it a cloud, a ball of mist? Or is this all just a hoax that I cleverly photoshopped? And of course, the answer is no to all 4 of those options. At this stage, let's do a quick review of a few points and bring this to a conclusion. Earlier in this discussion, we noted these 2 spherical objects that remain visible over time in the video footage. We observed this area and the abrupt surge in the light source behind it. We also noticed this. And 10 minutes later, it's still bright and well defined. Are we able to register what's in front of our nose here? And to a large extent, I think for most of us, no. We don't grasp it. We noted this, once again, round-shaped or planet-shaped appearance. And the last phenomena we looked at is this pulsar style of surging light in the east, continuing on for over 10 minutes after sundown in the west. Previously, we've touched upon the fact that there are several names or titles that refer to this Planet X entity. One of those names is the Destroyer. To expand on this detail, we'll play a clip from a previous video titled About Planet X Part 1. The Destroyer. Here is an example of the way that the term Destroyer appears in the Old Testament in the book of Jeremiah, in a prophetic revelation foretelling the apocalyptic return of this thing. For this illustration, I have used the archaic 1611 printing to help convey the fact that this title, the Destroyer, is not a modern nickname that's been added in. Jeremiah's labor as a prophet in Jerusalem ran from about 626 BC to 586. And so this reference to the Destroyer in Jeremiah's words rings down to us through the centuries from at least 2,500 years ago. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 7. The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste, without an inhabitant. Now the metaphorical usage of, quote, the lion, there in the first sentence, tends to obscure the meaning and makes it more difficult to understand what is being said here. One way to clarify what is being said is to read again, starting from the second line. The destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste, without an inhabitant. These words in Jeremiah chapter 4 prophesy of the same event spoken of in Joel chapter 2, and also Isaiah chapter 24. Further extraordinary details of this prophecy are given in the Revelation of John. Revelation chapter 6, starting at verse 12. And I beheld, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black, as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, the rich men, the chief captains, the mighty men, every bondman and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. These ominous words from ancient writings contained in the Old Testament and in the book of Revelation of John are speaking from the perspective of foretelling a future event, the return visitation of the Nemesis system to the inner part of our solar system. The point I want to highlight at the moment is the detail in Jeremiah chapter 4, where the term destroyer is given, referring to the entity that will, quote, destroy cities and lay the land desolate, etc. In other passages of the Scriptures, there are additional details showing that the visitation of this entity, the destroyer, will cause a darkening of the sun, and again quoting, the earth shall reel to and fro as a drunken man. While those words are telling of future events, there are additional ancient writings from other sources that echo a past event in which the same destroyer brought apocalyptic destruction and havoc on the earth. To name one of these sources specifically, we have the Ipuwer papyrus from ancient Egypt. We're talking about an onslaught of tremendous destruction and upheaval on the earth and in the heavens of our solar system. The fragments of this narrative come down to us from ancient Egypt, Babylonia, Sumeria, and others. The echoes of this event convey a record of colossal geophysical and astrophysical forces overturning the world of men. One vivid description of this is found in the ancient volume of literature known as the Kolbrin, or Kolbrin Bible. In an earlier video, I give an overview of its origin and content, etc. Let's play a clip of that video, reading from Chapter 3 of the Kolbrin. We'll drop right into the middle of the conversation, so we're cutting in with the last few comments of Marshall Masters.
Society, which finally at the end, it only had 4 priests in the society left, and one of them decided that was it. It was time to make it public.
And finally, we will now read from the text. Kolbrin, Book of Creation, Chapter 3. At the time of the great destruction of earth, God caused a dragon from out of heaven to come and encompass her about. The dragon was frightful to behold. It lashed its tail. It breathed out fire and hot coals, and a great catastrophe was inflicted upon mankind. The body of the dragon was wreathed in a cold, bright light, and beneath, on the belly, was a hued glow, while behind it trailed a flowing tail of smoke. Its passage caused great thunderings and lightnings. The seas were loosened from their cradles and rose up, pouring across the land. There was an awful shrilling noise, trumpeting, which outpowered even the howling of the unleashed winds. Men, stricken with terror, went mad at the awful sight in the heavens. Then it passed, leaving earth enwrapped within a dark and lowering mantle. In other words, there was total darkness. The bowels of the earth were torn open in great writhing upheavals, and a howling whirlwind rent the mountains apart. The wrath of the sky monster was loosed in the heavens. It lashed about in flaming fury, roaring like 1,000 thunders. It poured down fiery destruction amid a welter of thick, black blood. The earth vomited forth great gusts of foul breath from awful mouths opening up in the midst of the land. The evil breath bit at the throat of men before it drove men mad and killed them. Those who did not die in this manner were smothered under a cloud of red dust and ashes, or were swallowed by the yawning mouths of earth, or crushed beneath crashing rocks. Okay, as we can see there, the chapter continues on with further details of this account. We'll wrap it up, though, and move on from here. What an astonishing account, coming down to us from over 3,000 years ago. Of course, with an historical heirloom or treasure such as this, it's crucial that we also have the information regarding its origins. Who wrote it? When was this written? Where does it come from? And we do have that information. One main question at this point is, this narrative we just read from the Kolbrin, is it genuinely from ancient times? And the answer is definitely yes. This volume of literature is comprised of 2 parts, one of which is of Egyptian origin from before 1000 BC, and the other part of the Kolbrin is from Celtic origin. Now, there is a mountain of detail we could go into, laying out the historical picture of the Kolbrin, but that's for a separate video from this one. In fact, I've done a biographical sketch and a report on the subject of the Kolbrin in my video titled About Planet X, Part 1. Conclusion. We've briefly touched on a few sources of ancient information concerning recollection of a past destruction event, as well as prophecies declaring a similar cataclysm that would come in the latter days of the world. Furthermore, we've looked at present-day camera footage of baffling details occurring in our skies right now. The location of the sky situations we noted was Guadalajara, Mexico. However, that's just a sample of the kind of anomalies that are seen around the world in these recent years. Something incredible and unbelievable is here now in our solar system. And according to past experience long ago, combined with scriptural prophetic declarations, this world is in for a major reshuffle, to put it nicely. People can roll their eyes and sarcastically laugh at what I'm saying, and to that I say, go ahead, I don't mind. But one suggestion, look again at the points observed in this little video and consider.